Hi, my name is Christina Ruggles. I'm here with Rebecca Tinsley, chairwoman and founder of Waging Peace and Network for Africa. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi.
We understand that the Darfur children's drawings are being exhibited all over the world at the moment. What can you tell us about them, and what do you think that people see in them?
I think if you're a Westerner and you've grown up in a society where you don't have violence, then you look at these drawings and they are just such a shock to the system because they have all the innocence of a children's drawing of refrigerator art, and yet in a way they're so dispassionate, they're so objective, they're showing horrifying things only through the eyes of a child. And it doesn't matter how many times I've looked at these drawings, it still shocks me to see a child drawing babies being thrown onto fires by the Sudanese soldiers, to see helicopters bombing their villages, to see women being led away with chains around their necks. I mean, you never get past it, and you can only imagine what it must have felt like for those children.
Absolutely. How young are these children who are drawing these?
Some of them are very young. They're 8 or 9 years old. Others are, going up to about 15 years old.
And what makes the drawing so important? I understand that when people look at them, they'll understand when they see them, but why are they so important?
They're important because the regime that runs Sudan from Khartoum, they basically have been very clever. They've made sure that very few journalists get in to Darfur. So there are very few images of the ongoing genocide. And that means that our drawings, these 500 drawings that we've collected, drawn by children who have survived, they're pretty unique because they document the bombing of the villages, the raping of the women, the killing of the men. And because they are so unique, we took them to the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and the chief prosecutor actually accepted them as evidence of war crimes and crimes against humanity. So when the chief prosecutor comes to make the case against Field Marshal Bashir, the Sudanese president, he has issued an arrest warrant for this man. When he comes to make that case in court, he's actually going to be using these drawings by these children. And that is immensely powerful for the children themselves, because we've been able to go back to the camps and say to those children, you may feel powerless sitting here in a refugee camp, but because of what you've drawn, we are going to hold responsible the people who murdered your father and your brother.
Oh, that's amazing. That's fantastic. I know it's been in the news a lot lately, and so hopefully we'll see some progress in that.
We hope.
Now, shifting gears a little bit, I understand you're writing a book. Why specifically on Darfur?
We wanted to publish the children's drawings because we think they're so extraordinary that they deserve to be published. However, to be honest with you, when I wrote the text to go along with the drawings, it was just immensely depressing, and it showed the people of Darfur simply as victims, and that's not the full story. So I wanted to write something that gave people the idea of what life was like there beforehand, because the truth is, it was fine. And I wanted you to be able to see through the eyes of 4 young Darfuris what their life was like before, and then during, and then hopefully after, when we have a resolution to this, because I don't want people to look at the massive suffering in Darfur and to say, these people are just helpless victims. Because the truth is, they are typical Africans in that they are so resourceful, whereas the rest of us might have despaired. These guys get up every day and they keep going, and it is just a constant source of wonder to me. It humbles me that they have this resourcefulness to just keep on getting up and doing it again. And I wanted to tell their story, and when I was in Darfur in 2004, and I interviewed a lot of women and girls who had survived, but their men had been killed and they had been raped, they said to me at the time, you have to be our voice. And I, of course, felt completely inadequate to be their voice because I'm a white person who's led a very easy, privileged life. And I said to them, are you sure about that? And they said, well, look around. Who else is there? So I thought, right, okay, yeah. And it kind of burdened my heart. And I realised that as long as they were not able to have their own voice, I really had to do what I could. So that's why I've written the novel.
So it is going to be a novel based
Yeah,
on.
it is the 4 lives of 4 very different Darfuris, to see how they cope, how they adjust, whether they sink or whether they swim, and then how they emerge. Because there's no way this can happen to a traditional society, as Darfur was, without it changing. You cannot go back. The genie is out of the bottle. And in so many respects, their society is going to change. And the funny thing is, in some respects, from the women's point of view, things might actually, if they can get through this terrible period, things might actually get better, because the women are gaining confidence and status. Yeah.
Is there, if you had one message to send to people after they've read this book, what would that be?
It's a simple message, and that is to contact your elected representative and to urge them to put pressure on the United Nations to enforce the sanctions that are already there. The United Nations has voted on several resolutions on Darfur. None of them have been enforced. These are very obvious things, like a no-fly zone to stop the Sudanese bombing the villages, going after the assets of the architects of the genocide, going after their money, making it personal to them. These are things that are already there on the book, and what it needs is the political will to actually enforce it. Now, during the Rwandan genocide, the late Paul Simon, who was a well-respected senator in the United States, he said, if only 50 people had phoned me or written to me about Rwanda, I would have felt that I was under an obligation to go to the State Department and say, I'm representing the people in my district, you have to do something. And he said the tragedy was those 50 people didn't call. That's all it takes.
Well, thank you very much. I wish you all the best with your book and your novel. And